Brooklyn's one and only, the writer, the MC, the artist named Skyzoo is with us. Round of applause.
Appreciate it.
So listen, when we do these talks, it's always with classic hip hop artists. And we always start with the exact same question.
Okay.
What is the very, like early in your life, what is the very first hip hop song you can remember ever hearing ever?
Oh boy. First I ever heard, because the first song I ever heard is different from what made me want to rap. So I'm going back even further. I started rapping at 9. First hip hop song I ever heard was probably like 5, 6 years old that I would remember. Oh man. I'm gonna name some artists. I don't know if I can pinpoint the song,
Okay.
but definitely Kid and Play, definitely Eric B. and Rakim, of course, EPMD, KRS, BDP, I would say those guys. That was getting a lot of run in my mother's car and in my pop's car. NWA was getting a lot of play in the whip when I was a little kid.
And this is from your parents?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Yeah, because I had young parents. My parents was 20 when they had me.
Okay.
So, if I'm 6, they're 26, so look at it like that. 26-year-old right now is listening to whatever the new young wave is or whatever's going on. So it was the same thing in the 80s, so.
Wow, that explains. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Skyzoo's music.
Yeah.
But I'm not familiar with his personal life, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm no psychiatrist.
1 and 1 is 2, right? It makes sense.
But this makes so much more sense to me.
Absolutely, yeah. My pops was 20, my mother was 19.
Wow. Are they both still with us?
Oh, yeah. Thank God, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So tell us about the Skyzoo household, Mrs. and Mr. Skyzoo.
Yeah, right?
Growing up.
Oh, man.
Well, other than the whip that was bumping EPMD, can you tell us like a little bit about like what was your childhood like in Brooklyn?
Yeah, growing up in Brooklyn, my parents weren't together, so I always had 2 cribs. I always had 2 apartments, right? So as a kid, it was like, I'm over here for 4 days, I'm over here for 3 days. That was my whole childhood growing up until I got to college. Like that was my whole life, and it was normal. And my mother was in Crown Heights and my pops was in Flatbush. 20-minute ride, 15-minute ride each way. So I was always close.
Do you have siblings?
Yep, I got 2 younger brothers.
Same parents?
No, through my pops. 2 younger brothers through my pops. Through my mom's, it's just me. But through my pops, I got 2 younger. Because like I said, they were never together. Like, they split when I was a baby. So, but yeah, that was, the beginning. And then my pops moved to the Sty when I was like 10. And if you know my music, I speak a lot about, fatherhood and the way I grew up and a lot of the stuff that we're talking about now. And I got an album called Milestones, and the whole thing is about fatherhood, Black fatherhood in the inner city particularly. And I have a record on there called Turning 10. And it's about how when I was 10 years old, when I was 10 years old, I moved from my mom's crib to my pop's crib. It went from 4 or 5 days here with my mom's and 2 days with my pops to reversing it 4 or 5 days with my pops and 2 days with my mom's.
Why was that?
Because a boy needs a man to teach him how to be a man.
Well, no, I agree with that.
Right.
But
that was the reason.
Whose a realization do you think?
Oh, my father was pushing for that, and then my mother agreed.
Okay.
She understood totally. There was no pushback. And I make a lot of comparisons to Boys in the Hood throughout my music all the time because that really was like my life, except changed South Central for Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like, that was my life. I was the kid living with his mom, seeing his pops on the weekend. And then at 10 years old, the conversation was, let me get him. And
I feel like when a kid grows up, having their parents be together or not be together has a big effect.
100%. And I'm blessed across the board. I didn't go through the drama of, the parents, baby mama drama stuff. Like, I didn't experience that. My parents were cool and everything was good. I'm sure they had their moments that I wasn't really privy to as a little kid, that they kept that away from me. But all I saw was them being cool. They just weren't together,
Do you recall any of the lyrics from that song?
Which song?
The one you were
Turning
just
10?
referencing, turning 10?
Oh, yeah. Let's turn 10 start. My man used to sling to his mother, took a couple dollars off so she don't think he don't love her. I said, damn, son, your pops don't care? He said, son, I don't know. My father been in and out of Rikers since I was 9 years old. He passed me an L and then continued to bag snow. I pictured myself in the shoes and took a drag slow. His mother came in the room with 7 singles, gave her a bag of stones, her face said, heaven sent you. I was 14, known as a mixture of straight scheming and debate teaming. A tug of water break me even. I was weaving through. Yeah, so what I'm saying on that record is, right, like in the 9th grade, when I was about 14, I had a homie who used to, get busy, used to hustle. And he was 14, we was the same age, and he used to sling to his mother. So that's what I'm saying in the beginning of the record. My man used to sling to his mother. He took a couple dollars off so she don't think he don't love her. And I'm in the house with him one day after school and we burning it down and I'm watching him bag up. And then, he sling to his mother and I'm like, damn, son, your father don't care? He's like, I don't know, my pop's been in Rikers forever, you know what I mean? So he's like, I don't know if my father cares or not, so, and I'm watching and I'm like, damn, and as somebody who has their mother and their father, I'm sitting back and he passed me the L while he's bagging up. It's literally the way it went down, like a movie, and I'm describing the whole thing. And he passed me the L, and I'm 14, little Skyzoo, and I'm sitting there smoking. I'm watching him, and I watch his mother come in the room and cop for $7 instead of 10, and she's excited, like, thank you so much. You're such a good son. And in my mind, I'm like, God damn, like, I picture myself in his shoes, you know what I mean? Like, what would happen if that was my life? But it wasn't my life. My life was after we sit here in your apartment and I burn it down and we play, Sega Genesis or whatever it is, I'm gonna go home. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go home to my crib with my dad, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna call my mom and check on her and see how her day was. And like, none of that is my world, but I understand it because we both from the hood, you know what I mean? So that's how Turning 10 starts. You know what I mean? Like, that's how that song starts. Yeah.
That's for an MC to open themselves up,
Yeah.
I think usually endears themselves to their fans, right? There's not not too many instances where you finally peel away the layers of who you are,
Right?
And people are like, oh, I don't want to hear about that. They're actually like, wow, I've experienced that too, or they can relate in some sort of way. I feel like we could talk about, first of all, I'm from Brooklyn.
Oh, word up. What part?
So I'm from Brooklyn Heights.
Okay, yeah.
Not the worst neighborhood. But
But you good.
the diversity of Brooklyn, and it's hard to describe Brooklyn to people that aren't from Brooklyn. But I'll say it like this: there are parts of Washington D.C. Why I like this city that remind me of Brooklyn.
I'm sure, because I've been here a bunch of times and just seeing the architecture, seeing the way the city rolls, seeing one side and then the other side of the city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you have Brooklyn, you have the Sty, you have Crown Heights, you have Flatbush, and then you have Park Slope and Brooklyn Heights, like you said. And, so I totally get that. Absolutely.
And, Brooklyn is a big city. A lot of people don't realize it's one of the largest cities in America.
Absolutely. The 5 boroughs are 8 million people. 3 million alone are in Brooklyn. And the other 5 are split up between 4 boroughs.
Which makes it the 8th largest city in America.
Yeah, Brooklyn's huge. Yeah, it's crazy.
And that has a lot of effect on people. What, for people who maybe don't know your music as well, would probably love to know how you got your name. You have quite a unique name.
Yeah, it's probably in the box right now. The way I got my name, so my name is Skyler, Skyler. It's my middle name, but it's what everybody calls me. It's the only name I'm known by in my house, in school, whatever. So my name is Skyler, and then as a little kid, 3-4 years old, there was a group in the 80s, ironically in Brooklyn, from Lafayette Gardens, which is 10 minutes from St. James Place, where I grew up in the Sty. But I didn't know that at the time, but a group named Sky, Skyy.
Oh, sure, I had that record.
Yep. And they used to put the word sky at the front of a lot of their albums and songs, and Skyline, Skyport, Skytime, whatever. And they had a song called Skyzoo.
No.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's a disco record.
Did you guys know this? Anyone?
See, nobody would have won the prize, you know what I mean? It's a disco record, but they spell Skyyyzoo. So when I was a little kid, my family, there's a debate over who did it, right? My aunt says it was her. My cousin says it was him. So I give the credit to everybody. So, like, they've argued about it. I named him. No, I named him. So when I was a little kid, my family, like I just described, they would call me Skyzoo as a little nickname because of Sky, Skylar. You know, it's like if your name is David, they call you Dave. You know,
Right,
so
right.
Skylar or Sky. So they would call me Skyzoo. And back then you had your little crew shirts. You know, if you was a teenager and all that, you had your crew or your little gang or your neighborhood thing shirts. So my aunt was in like this little crew, not a gang, but she was in like a little crew, and they had the 80s shirts or whatever with the t-shirt with the felt letters and everything. So they got me one, and it says Skyzoo on the back. I was like 4 years old. Yeah.
Tell me you still have.
I definitely don't, but I see it. I remember exactly what it looks like. I see it in my head. It was black with the little white felt letters and the Greek kind of, was it Greek? Kind of like a Greek style. And so that's where it came from. So when I started rhyming, I went with Skyzoo because I knew nobody would have it. I actually started, when I first started rhyming, I went with Spade, right? Because I grew up as a graffiti head too. So I started doing graffiti when I was like 11, 12 years old. So whenever I see like markers, I get excited. Like, you know, I tag up everywhere. I be tearing people bathrooms up. Like, it's a bad habit. But, you know, so I used to tag Spade and I used to rap with Spade when I was like 10 years old. But I would always see Spade everywhere. Like on the train, Spade was like the #1 graffiti name for a while. Like everybody had that name. And I was like, man, this is whack. Like, hey, I'm going to tag Spade and there's 8 other Spades. This is whack. So, you know, I just ran with Skyzoo, you know, and I think I had Spade as a rap name for like a week. You know what I mean? But so it was always Skyzoo. But I was like, this is whack, Spade everywhere. So I just went with Skyzoo, and then I started tagging, you know, Skyzoo and et cetera, et cetera. And that was, I knew nobody would have it. And the funny thing, man, I used to catch so much flack for my name growing up, like my rap name. People just thought it was weird.
Really?
They was like, what does that mean? A Skyzoo, a sky in a zoo, what does that mean? But I always stuck with it, right? It's like you got Jay-Z, you got AZ, you got 50 Cent, you know what I mean?
Right.
So now, like, no one says, and everybody's like, yo, Skyzoo, oh my God, Sky. But I had to fight for that. Like, in the beginning, people thought it was weird. That, like, being a kid and, like, you know, junior high and high school, people was like, yo, he's crazy, but his name is weird. You know what I mean? Like, I remember.
It's no Childish Gambino, though.
Exactly, you know what I mean?
In a good way.
Yeah, I remember taking a meeting, like early, maybe like 19, 20 years old. I remember taking a meeting at a label, and the rep was like, yo, you're so dope, but like, would you ever change your name? And I was like, nah. And they were like, yo, what if you just came out as Sky? What if you just rapped Sky? And I was like, nah, I'm Skyzoo, you know what I mean? And I did not get the deal because of my name, but this rep, she really was pushing for it. Big rep too, if I name dropped, it would be like, oh, word, but she really was pushing to change my name. Like, you should really just go by Sky. It'll be so much easier to sell you. I was like, nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? So I had to fight for my name. But yeah, Skyzoo is super unique. And then two, it's catchy too. Thank you, appreciate it. And then two, the group actually reached out and are all about me using it, which was cool. The group Sky, like, they reached out and were like, yo, nah,
they're
you
still
good.
around.
Oh, yeah. They're older,
That's
you know.
crazy.
So Sky is a disco group. So if you listen to the record, it's all disco. There's nothing hip hop.
Oh, I'm 100% listening to the song
it's
later
all
today.
Studio 54 and all that. And the reason why they called it Skyzoo is because it was in the beat there's a kazoo. So instead of a kazoo, they called it a Skyzoo. So the record is like, I want my Skyzoo. Like, it's a straight up disco joint. Yeah, and yo, so many people have tried to chop that record and make a beat for me out of it.
You said kazoo?
Yeah, a kazoo. Like a, you know.
Let's be honest with ourselves.
The little kazoo.
How many disco songs have kazoo in them?
Right. And so many people have tried to chop that sample and make a beat for me out of it because they know the story, and it's always so bad. It's like, no, don't do it, just leave it alone, you know what I mean? Because it's a kazoo, and it's always so bad. Nobody's nailed it yet. Every time, yo, I made this beat, I used the joint. I'm like, all right, and I hear it, I'm like, oh, it's so bad. You know? Like, and no knock to them, it's just a hard record to chop and make something ill out of, you know?
It's okay,
but
you know what? That's a challenge.
It is. It's a
We're
super
gonna put
challenge.
a challenge out
It's
there.
a super challenge, man, because it is a difficult record to chop.
Well, hold on. Let's make this segue there, right? So you've producers have tried to make, a beat for you out of that sample. They haven't been able to do it. And yet at the same time, you have worked with like a triad and more of just, in my humble opinion, the greatest hip hop producers of all time.
I've been blessed, man. Absolutely.
Okay, in fact, we're sitting in front of 4 records that hopefully we will get you to sign.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Go into the museum. And this album, not just this album, but the work you did with Ninth and that whole squad. Tell us about how you see the difference in working with a Ninth Wonder, a DJ Premier, versus working with a guy who's got an amazing beat but doesn't have that reputation or experience.
For me, there's no difference, right? Because Ninth, Preem, Pete, whoever, at some point, they were that guy. And then they became who they are, right? They all worked at UPS or worked at the pizza shop or, was in a mother basement, whatever it may be. And then they became who they are. So for me, there's no difference. I've made magic musically with the people we just named. I've made magic musically with people who you don't know, but you know the beat. You're like, yo, that record is crazy. Who did that on your album? For me, there really is no difference. I look at them the same from the creativity and the output and the talent. Of course, it's Pete, right? Pete's done this and this and this, so that's gonna be different, but I treat everybody right. Like, I'm gonna treat the guy coming up with the same respect I'm gonna treat Pete with, which is the utmost. If we working, there's a reason I'm working with you, So it's not, yeah, whatever, man, just give me the joint, man. You lucky I'm even doing it. Nah, I don't play that. It's, yo, thank you, because you could have did this record with anybody else, gave this beat to anybody else, let's rock.
Well, that's kind of my point. These guys don't work with just anybody. And so right. How did you, well, let's talk about, Ninth, how did you even get to know those guys and get to work with them?
Oh, man, so as far as Ninth, I met Ninth through my man Sean Dawn of the Justice League. None of this would be possible without him. I tell him that every time we talk. So Sean Dawn, or Dunny, if you know him personally, call him Dunny. Dunny is from the Bronx, from New York, and I met him through my man Ayers, who I'm still very close to this day. And he put me on to the whole J League and all that stuff that was happening in I think it was 04 when I, was really getting put on to all that stuff. And I just knew, the kid Ninth from Little Brother. Who's Little Brother? Oh, snap. Okay, so I'm getting familiar with all that. And it's like, yo, the kid Ninth, he did the threat, the J. Oh, okay, word. Oh, he got a group. Oh, word. So I'm getting put on in 04 to all that. I immediately become a fan of everything that's going on with them. Ayers introduced me to Dunny. Dunny is in New York, living in North Carolina, but he comes to New York, and we met. And the first day we met, we did 4 records. The first day we met. He's just that awesome of a dude. We just met, but I think you mega dope. Let's work. He came all the way to my man's studio.
What year is that?
2004.
Wow.
Came all the way to my man's studio in Long Island where I was working out of. And, we did 4 records, man, and we just kept up. So every little mixtape that I had on some GQ and Juice, you local, you know what I mean? Every little local mixtape I had, I gave it to Dunny. Yo, here, take that, take everything, So he went back home in North Carolina and he was just playing everything for the whole crew. And then he hit me and was like, yo, man, Heads wants you to come down here. Heads wants you to come down here and do some work. So I wound up going down a couple months later in 05. I wound up going down. I was still working a regular job. So I had to call out of work for a week, all that. Booked my little flight, stayed at his house. And him and Crisis was living together, sleeping on their couch for a week. And I just did a bunch of records, And the records I did 15 records in a week. It was beats from Crisis, for 10, Ninth, and this new dude I had never heard of. And the story is so cool, man. I'm working with Crisis. Crisis like, yo, man, it's this dude, man. You know him? And I'm saving his name on purpose. And he tells me the name, and I'm like, no, I don't know. He's like, yo, he from up there, from in New Jersey, right by you. And it was the day I was leaving to fly back to New York, and my flight was in the afternoon, and then Crisis hit him on AOL AIM, on a sidekick, on AIM. And he sent a beat through AIM. He sent one beat. And I did the beat that morning before I got on the plane, and it was Illmind. And that's how I met Illmind, through Crisis. Crisis hit him, yo, my man up there, he's crazy in Jersey. And I was like, nah, I don't know him. And he said the same thing to Illmind, yo, it's this kid from Brooklyn here, he's crazy, man, send me something. And Illmind sent him a beat, and I did the joint. I wrote the joint and recorded that morning and then flew to the airport, you know what I mean? And that was how me and Illmind started. Illmind's like my brother, like that's my man.
I love that album.
Thank you, man, that's my man. And but that's how we met. So that was how all that stuff started, you know, and then those records never even came out. I may have leaked 1 or 2 songs, but those records never even came out. What J-League used to do, they would bring heads to North Carolina just to work and see how the vibe and the energy was. So I literally went down there and we just worked, and nothing really happened with none of those reckons. You know, they're sitting in a CD in my mother's basement or something. You know what I mean? And like, and yeah, you know, and but it was the ill start of the relationship, and they was just, yo, you family now. You know what I mean? They was big dog with them, like, yo, you family now. You one of us. You know, so like I always looked at it with the league. J-League being Little Brother and Sean Dawn and Joe Scudder and, you know, all those guys, Crisis and those guys. I always looked at it like they were the guys in the South and I was the cousin from New York that would come to the family reunion. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
we all got those where, like,
That's a good example.
You got the family in the South, and it's like, oh, that's our cousin from New York. That's our cousin from up north coming down for a week. That was me. I wasn't in the league, but I was the cousin that would come down. You know, that's how they look at me. That's how I look at them. And those are the first guys to give me a shot, man. And I remember 50 when he blew, he did an interview, XXL or somebody, and he was like, yo, man, I'm from New York. I'm in New York with all these labels, all these crews, everybody. I had to go and get my deal in LA and Detroit. I had to go see a LA guy and a Detroit guy to get on. And I always felt that years later because it was like, I'm from New York and I had to go to North Carolina to get on. You know what I mean? Like, nobody in New York was putting me on. You know, They knew I was nice. They knew I was crazy. They knew I was going crazy, whatever. But they wasn't trying to help like that. Or they wanted me to change my name or some stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, They wasn't trying to help. I had to go to North Carolina, to the country, and meet some dudes down there that was making New York hip hop and get my buzz started. Like, that was how I got my buzz started. If you was in New York, you might have heard of me. If you went to Burkina, you might remember Burkina. You was in New York. Burkina, or, you know, Music Factory or Beat Street, or, you know, I wasn't even in Fat Beats yet. You know, that was a whole nother thing. But if you was in New York in 02, 03, you might have heard of me. But once I went to North Carolina and started going down there and building that relationship, then it was like, yo, who's that? Yo, that kid Skyzoo. You know, and that's how Cloud9 happened. You know, and that's a whole other story. Like, that's how that happened. And then everything just kind of steamrolled from there.
Sounds like them giving you that opportunity was almost like a hip hop boot camp or hip hop proving ground.
Yeah, and they right away they was with it. Like, right away, Big Doe was like, oh, I'm getting you a deal. You know what I mean? Like, I remember Big Doe was like, I'm getting you a record deal. Like, that's done. Because LB had just signed with Atlantic. And they were working on a minstrel show. And I remember, like, the last day I was there, Doe was like, yo, I'm getting you a deal. He was like, this is ridiculous that you're not signed yet. And they all was showing me a lot of love. They all was like, yo, Skyzoo was it. He that guy, man. And I'm just this kid that works at Morgan Stanley. You know what I mean? I'm 22, 23 years old. I work at Morgan Stanley. Yeah, I was working at Morgan Stanley, man. I had to wear the shirt and tie and slacks every day. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't no broker. I worked in the print department. It sounded cool. Like, people would be like, yo, you work with Morgan Stanley? Like, oh, man. Like, nah, I worked in the print department in the basement. You know what I mean? Like, we just had to dress like my man. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I wasn't doing what he was doing. You know what I mean? I was making copies, you know? But
So how do we go from, you know, that relationship and that entire the Justice League, you know, has created so much work and so many artists
100%.
and so many amazing things, including yourself, have come out of that. How do we go from that to relationships with, which came first, you know, doing a track with Premier, or doing an album with Pete Rock? Which came first?
Oh, the Primo stuff, because that was 06, 07. And, you know, and the Pete album was 2019, so it was a distance apart. That all just came from the work I was doing with Knife, right? So no one knew me. All of a sudden, I got an album with Knife Wonder. Ninth Wonder's the new hot producer, Jay-Z album, Beyonce, Destiny's Child, Mary J. Blige, you know, things is going crazy. LB stuff, then the minstrel show comes out and things are going wild. And all of a sudden, some kid from Brooklyn who gotta go to work every day has an album with him. I say, yo, what the fuck? Wait a minute, hold up. And that was how it really got started for me. Because it was like, yo, who is this kid who has a whole album, 12 records with Ninth? I heard the kid still got a job. Like, who is this kid? You know what I mean? Like, and that was me. So everybody had questions like, how? Why? Why him? That's crazy. And then when they pressed play, it was like, oh, that's why. I get it. And the way Cloud 9 happened, after I met Ninth at that weekend or that week or whatever, every time Ninth would come to New York, he had like a little running joke. He would hit me, yo, what up, bro? Yo, I'm in New York, man. Come get with me, man. Let's get together. I would meet him, Flight Club, was a sneaker guy. I would meet him at Flight Club or whatever. And we would go sneaker shopping and bug out and get food and whatever. And he would always hand me a CD. He would always be like, here you go, cuz. He beat CD, cuz. And he would give me a CD and it would be like 10 to 15, 20 beats on it. Every time he came to New York. So one day I'm in the crib, now it's, what is this? It's like early 2006. One day I'm in the crib and I'm kind of bored with the music scene or whatever, doing nothing on a Saturday. And I'm like, yo, I never really sat and went through these CDs, but I'm bugging. I got like 10 Ninth CDs right here. Like, let me see something. And I just threw them on. And I was like, yo, hold up. And I get a piece of paper and write, yo, track 2, track 5, okay. This CD, yo, track 3, track 8, track 9, okay. I'm like, yo, hold up. I got an album here. And I'm just listening to all these beats and I'm picking the CDs apart. Let me get this one. And I call my man, studio on Long Island, I call my man Nice. Nice was like my 40, right? White guy from Long Island, recorded, mixed, mastered everything for me in the early days of my career. And he was like the 40 to my Drake. So called Nice, yo, bro, I gotta come through. Yeah, come through. So I think I went like the next day or something and started recording. And the first record I did was the Bodega. Record the Bodega. Boy, I did like, a bunch of records. So what happened was I did 9 records in 2 days. I did 9 records in 2 days with Nice, and then I stopped. I called Dunny, Sean Dunn. I said, yo, I'm gonna come down, man. I'm gonna book a trip, come down. He was like, yeah, come down. So like a week or 2 later, I was in North Carolina. Told Ninth, yo, I'm gonna come down and kick it with y'all. Yeah, come through. Ninth had no idea what I was doing. So I get to the studio, he doing whatever, working on something, whatever. I hit him with the same move. I said, yo, put that in your pocket. CD. He goes, oh, okay, word up, word. He said, what's this? Nah, don't worry about it, you put it in your pocket. The next morning, I'm sleeping on Sean Dawn's couch. He called me. Yo, what's up? Yo, what is this, cuz? What is... And then he turns the music up in the background, and it's the Bodega. He was like, yo, what is this? This is incredible. What is this? He's screaming. I was like, nah, you listening to the CD? There's something. He was like, yo, what is this? What is this CD? I said, yo, I picked some joints from CDs you gave me, and I just knocked them out. He was like, yo, meet me at the studio, 12 o'clock. Meet me at the studio. I was like, I bet. Pulled up at 12. He was like, yo, this shit is nuts. Like, what are we gonna do with this? I said, you tell me. He said, let's finish it and put it out. I said, bet. Wow. So we did 3 songs in 1 day, and that's how it became Cloud 9, the 3-day high, 12 songs in 3 days. Because I did 9 in 2 days, and a week or 2 later, I did 3 more in 1 day. So it was 12 joints done in 3 days. And when it was done, we kind of looked at each other, and I was like, what are we gonna do? He was like, what you wanna do? You put it out? I said, yeah. I said, I just need your blessing. Like, you don't gotta do nothing. I'm gonna run. Trust me, I'm gonna run. You don't have to do anything. I said, all I need from you, when people ask about it, just stand tall with it. Because there was a lot of people getting Ninth beats off YouTube and The Lawn and OK Player and all that and making little songs and stuff, and it wasn't real. Because Ninth would just have beats out, just like Dilla. There's a million Dilla beats out. Gosh. So Ninth would have beats everywhere and they would get leaked, and then you got some random kid making a song to it and people think it's real. So I say, yo, they're gonna question this, right? They're gonna be like, who the fuck is this kid? Like, they're gonna question this. Just stand tall. Just let them know. No, that's real. I really did that with him. And he was like, absolutely, done deal. I said, let's go. And I got the deal for it. I shot the video for it. I got the artwork done for everything, the press, everything I did. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to do anything. I was like, you don't gotta do nothing, bro. Like, I'ma handle it. And he was so blown away at that. Like, the work ethic on top of the music. He was like, yo, I didn't hold your hand for any of this. You just ran and did it. This is amazing, you know? And that was his biggest thing. Like, yo, fuck, man. Like, you got it, you know? And that was how that happened. So going back to how working with everybody else happened, when they saw that, they wanted in. They was like, oh, I'll work with him. Whether it was the Preems, the Pete's, the Knots, the High Techs, the, you know, whoever I could think of, the Buck Wilds, oh yeah, nah, let's go. You know what I mean? It's like you made it. It's like you in the door, you know? So, yeah, that was how that happened, man. That was
Don't you
how,
think there's something classic about working with one producer on an entire album?
I do, but I also think if you do it right, having multiple producers on a record can be just as strong and as great and as amazing and all that. Absolutely. And Illmatic proved that. To me, Illmatic is the greatest hip hop album of all time.
Right.
And Illmatic started that.
Right.
You know, you would have one producer, you might have a Q-Tip remix or something, but that would be it. And then, you know, yeah, and Nas and Pro, Nas and Large Fest started that. Like, yo, let's get the hottest dudes and blah, 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 blah. And every record was a different producer, and it was like, this is the greatest thing. And then everybody started doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of them was great, and then some of them wasn't, but, you know, everybody kind of took that formula that we still have now of having multiple producers on a record.
Well, you have a classic sensibility, and it's clear that you know your parents had a lot of influence on that. You know, at what point did Duck Down get involved? Because you know, being a Brooklyn MC and being you know signed to Duck Down, you know, it's kind of a well, let's say it's an interesting experience, especially because you know Duck Down is you know obviously a different label today than it was, let's say, in the '90s. Tell me about how that relationship started.
Oh man, just being on the scene. Once you get in, once Cloud9 happened, I'm rubbing shoulders with everybody. I'm in the mix with everybody. I'm at every event. I'm at every joint, and everybody's talking about, yo, Skyzoo, what's up? And you know, I met Buck and Drew, and of course Price. I met Price, my brother P. I met P, absolutely. I met P in North Carolina with Knife in them. So not the first time I was down there, but one of those other times I came down to work and he was there. And he was there for 2 weeks working on Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
And he was down there working, and the day we met, he put me on his album. That was the first time I was ever on somebody else's album as a, you know, who had some status and some name and who was popping and was a legend. You know, that was my first time being on somebody's project like that. The day we met, he was like, man, he heard me doing something, and he was like, yo, you ill, man. And he was like, and you ill with the hooks too. I was like, wow, good look. He was like, yo, you mad nice and you got the hooks. He was like, yo, you wanna do a hook for my shit? I was like, yeah, all right. And we did You Already Know. You know what I mean? And that was how that happened, right then on the spot. And then me and P got cool from there, and I'd be at his crib in Brownsville, and you know, whatever, we'd be bugging out and everything. And that was how that happened. So then I'm taking meetings with all the labels about the album, you know, my official debut album. Absolutely. Major labels, indie labels, I'm taking meetings with everybody. And I was meeting with Duck Down, and Sean pushed that a lot. I remember hearing that Sean spoke to Drew, and I'm like, yo, we gotta do that. We gotta make sure we sign Skyzoo. And Drew was like, Sean, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do the deal. And Sean was like, no, I'm serious. Like, do the deal. You know what I mean? Like, and Drew was like, Sean, we're gonna do the deal. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So Sean's whole thing was like, he didn't want me to go somewhere else. He was like, yo, we need him on our team.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, he used to always call me, Sean used to call me the Kanye of Duck Down. I said it years later in a record. He used to be like, yo, you like the Kanye of Duck Down, bro, because we be doing our fucking D-Set boot camp shit, and then you'll have a record with some trumpets and Jill Scott and shit. You know what I mean? He's like, yo, you the only one over here that could do that. You know what I mean? But you make the shit ill. Like, you make it ill because you still killing it, you still spitting, and we be over here doing this, you know what I'm saying, Brownsville boot camp shit. And then you'll come in and have strings and have a band on stage, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, that's me, you know. So he always would be like, yo, you the Kanye of Duck Down, man. You know, so that was like my thing, yeah.
Wow.
But you know how Ye was with Rockefeller doing different shit, you know what I mean?
No, but it's clear from your stories you've had the support of some incredibly influential artists. who you know, really championed your cause.
Absolutely. An honor, too. It's an honor, a privilege, a blessing with all the people I named and the tons of people that I didn't even get to yet. You know, it's an absolute privilege, man. A lot of it comes from my background. You know, I don't have musicians in my family. As much hip hop as my parents was playing in the crib and in the car, that is all they know about music. There's no musical bone in my body from them. This is all God. You know, I am the first. You know what I'm saying? Like, my parents are like, where the hell did this come from? You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't sing, they don't rap, they don't write, they don't do poetry, they don't play nothing. They're just like, well, what? All right. You doing what? All right, go ahead. You know what I mean? And so they're like, where did this come from? You know what I mean? So, you know, but it came from my neighborhood, it came from my surroundings, it came from what I was hearing in the house. You know, it came from the fact that I would be outside. We lived in the hood, you know, like where I lived at, my neighborhood, there was a whole album written about my neighborhood before I made an album about my neighborhood, right? There was a whole album made about my neighborhood called Ready to Die. Ready to Die is about my neighborhood. I'm from St. James, Gates and Green. Biggie's from St. James, Gates and Fulton, up the block. You know what I mean? Like, I could walk to Biggie house in less than 60 seconds. I had to walk by Biggie crib every day to go to school, to come home, to go to the Chinese restaurant, to come back home, to go to the supermarket, to go to the pizza shop. I had to walk by Big crib 30 times a day. That was the inspiration right there. So that album, Things Done Changed, Give Me the Loot, you know, all that, that's about my neighborhood. You know what I mean? So I say all that to say that was where I lived, that was my surroundings. But then I go in the crib and my pops is playing jazz, and we got Leroy Campbell art on the wall, and there's home cooked dinner on the table. You know what I mean? So I had this crazy juxtaposition in my life of, we live in the hood, but we go to the Poconos, you know, every summer or every winter for 3 days, or we go to Martha's Vineyard for 3 days in the summer. Like, that was, you know, how I grew up. But we would come home to the block, and we would come home to where it was happening at. And you hear all that on Milestones. You know, I talk about that on Milestones, like being in the hood and my friends is outside serving, and we getting in the car to go to see a Broadway play. That was my life, you know? So that's why the music sounds the way it sounds. I could get on Griselda shit, I could get on Jada Kiss, whatever, and then I could go and do shit with Jill and Black Thought and Kweli, and it all makes sense because of the surroundings and the way I grew up. You know what I mean? Like, I never went to school in my neighborhood. It's a story I tell all the time. I never went to school in my neighborhood. You know, it would be a school around the corner. I wasn't allowed to. You know, my parents had me go to school in Manhattan. So I would jump on a train for 30, 35 minutes or whatever and go to school in Manhattan. So now I'm in school with kids who look like you, who live in Brooklyn Heights and live in Park Slope and live in Upper East Side and all that. And here I am from the side, and all this action and activity and whatever, and weed spots around the corner and corner stores and whatever. And then I go there, and my friend's got a doorman. And I never been in a building with a doorman where somebody lived.
Right.
Like a doorman, like, you know what I mean? But, you know, in seventh grade, you know? So my parents putting me in those schools exposed me to all that other stuff. So that also plays a part into the way I approach my music. So there's so many layers and different things, the way I write, all that comes from all these different avenues of things that just impacted the life and world of Skyzoo, you know?
Right. Well, I think I, as a fan, can hear the depth of knowledge of subjects and topics and just vocabulary of a guy who's just seen both sides of
There it is, 100%, 100%. And I appreciate the fact that you catch that.
I consider you, you know, I don't have a proper phrase for this. I consider you an intellectual rapper. Do you know what I mean? And
Thank you.
I don't
agree
mean
with
to,
that.
you know, it's probably a better phrase for it because, you know, it sounds a certain way to some people.
I'm with all that.
But,
Yeah,
you know, you mentioned Talib Kweli and Black Thought. I would actually put you in that same category.
Right. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I was advanced placement English my whole life, you know, so that's outside of the music. You know, I was in kindergarten getting 100 and an A+ in, you know, language arts in kindergarten. You know, like, writing was destined. If I never put a beat to it, it didn't matter. Like, writing was going to happen.
How did you discover, like, for instance, my son right now, he's 12 and he's like just discovering, and his English teacher is saying like, wow, this kid's like a really good, writer and communicator.
Nice.
How did you discover that?
The writing side, like before the music?
The communication, I mean, whether it's writing or it's verbal, it sounds to me like at an early age, you're like, hey, I'm kind of good at this stuff.
That was, again, it's just God-given. When I was a little kid, like how you have school plays, I was never able to be in the school play. I think I was in like one because they wanted me to narrate the play. Because I always could read really well and speak really well as a little kid. So I hated it because my little 7-year-old classmates, they would get in costumes and, you know what I mean, be done up, and I got to stand behind the curtain with the paper and read. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hated it, but it was because I was gifted. They was like, nah, Sky, we don't want you to be, the whoever in the character. We want you to narrate the play. And I would be sitting on a stool behind the curtain, and I would be or I would be on the stage, on the side. You could see me, but I would be holding a mic, and I would be reading the paper of narrating the play. I do the narration, And as far as speaking in front of a crowd, it started there. And my pops has the story that he loves to tell where he takes the credit for all this, where he'll say, I used to be in the back, and I used to be like, speak up, speak up, speak up. So now he loves taking the credit for it, rightfully so, where he'll be like, when you go on stage in front of 30,000 people and you're not scared, or when you go on TV, like, that was me. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, because he would be in the back, like, speak up, speak loud, speak loud. So I was never afraid to speak in a crowd. I was
Has he
never
ever come
afraid.
to your concerts and been like, wow.
Yeah, right. That'd be funny. Nah, he hasn't done that. That would be funny. Yeah.
I just had parents have a way of embarrassing their children in
that would be funny.
all different ways. But, there's a couple of questions that I always ask. So for you, top 5 favorite MCs in no particular order.
Oh, man. Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, Mos Def. And the 5th is always a wild toss-up of like Black Thought, 3000. It always fluctuates a little bit, but those 4 are always locked in no order, but Big J, Nas, Mos Def, and Black Thought is there. 3000 is there.
You rotate.
Kweli is there.
You rotate.
Yeah, Kweli is there. Scarface lingers around there, but those 4 are always there.
Okay, and then
The Genius is there.
Oh, I love the Genius.
Absolutely, the Jizza, yep. 100%.
Top 5 favorite producers.
Dilla, Pete. See, this one I haven't been asked a lot. Oh, wow. Yeah, I may not have ever been asked to name 5. Dilla, Pete. 5 great. I don't know. I mean, 9th for sure. I mean, 9th. I would not be where I'm at without 9th. Preem, of course. Preem is. I mean, What can you say, right? Like, Preem is it. Man.
2 more.
I know, right? I mean, Dre, I think Pharrell does not get the nod in hip hop that he should. Man. Q-Tip. No, Q-Tip. Q-Tip gotta go.
That's so funny. As you were hesitating, I was thinking like Q-Tip would.
Q-Tip gotta be there. Over somebody else. Q-Tip got to be there, without a doubt.
Q-Tip or Pharrell?
At that point, I would go Q-Tip.
Okay.
Yeah, Q-Tip. And Pharrell's amazing, and I love Pharrell's versatility and fluidity and how much he knows music. I mean, it goes without saying. But Q-Tip, without a doubt. Q-Tip is somebody who I would absolutely love to do a bunch of work with. People ask producers who I've worked with and haven't worked with, and there's so many producers that I've been blessed to work with. There's only like a handful that I haven't. He's one of them. Like, yo, we got to get together, man. You know what I mean? I remember walking into this Kanye party in like 2009, and it was this huge Kanye. Every celeb in the world was there. It was this huge Kanye party, and Q-Tip was DJing. And as I'm walking in the party, I'm hearing me, and Q-Tip is cutting me up. And I'm like, yo, like, this couldn't be scripted any better, you know what I mean? Like, and I had never met Q-Tip. And I'm walking in the party. This is off the Salvation. He's cutting up the Salvation at a Kanye party. And I'm walking there dolo, and I'm like, yo, like, you know what I mean? It was just
That's
like
pretty
rap
surreal.
dreams come true, you know what I mean? So
Well, that's funny because my next question was going to be, what is your favorite or greatest moment in your musical
oh
career?
man, there's a lot of those, which is a blessing. Performing overseas, man, is everything. Working with Spike Lee was everything. Absolutely. Meeting Dilla is up there, like having a bond with Dilla is up there. Dilla's the greatest ever. And when I met Dilla, I was a nobody. Like I had to go to work. Like I hadn't even done all the shit with Ninth yet. You know what I mean? Like when I met Dilla, I want to say in '05, yep, '05. And it's a crazy story, man. So in New York, BB King's, Madlib, and Doom were doing a show. And I said, yo, Dilla's coming through. I knew it. And he wasn't on the bill, he wasn't promoted. And this is New York, right? It's not Detroit where he's from, you know what I mean? But I was like, yo, Dilla's coming. Dilla's coming tonight to the show, man. And me and my man Ayers, we went. We didn't have tickets. Nobody thought Dilla was going. We waited outside. We didn't have tickets. We just stood in front of BB King's. We watched everybody come in. We watched everybody leave. Everybody was like, nah, man, Dilla not coming. Nah, Dilla's not coming. And when everybody left, they was like, yo, you was right. Dilla was there. That shit was crazy. You was right. I was like, I knew it. They was like, yeah, but I think he left. No doubt. We were standing in front of the door the whole night. So we would have saw who came out and left. So I was like, he ain't leave yet. Yo, me and my man Ed stayed in front of BB King's till like 3:30 in the morning. Finally, we saw Madlib walk out. I was like, oh shit, here we go. Saw this chubby dude walk out who was Doom. This was pre-Google, so, but I was like, that's probably Doom. You know what I mean? Because it was no mask. I was like, that's probably Doom. But he was just like dressed regular, you know what I mean? It was after the show. And then boom, little short dude with a Pele. I was like, God damn, there you go. And he came out and I just rushed him. I was like, yo, what's up, man? Bro? Like, peace, what's up? And I had a CD, and I was, at the time, I think, I was working at Kinko's. I wasn't even at Morgan Stanley yet. I was worked in print for whatever reason my whole life. I was working at Kinko's. So I made this CD of like me rhyming over all Dilla beats. And then I had my man in the art department at Kinko's. No. I had my man in the art department do the print, but I had my homie Joe Buck. And Joe Buck is De La Soul's graphic artist. He also did my logo. Joe Buck is an absolute animal. Shout to my bro, Joe Buck. Absolute animal. He did the De La Soul is Dead cover and all the stuff, man. The Saturdays cover, and Joe Buck is the guy. If you look him up, it's like ridiculous. He probably has stuff all in the case over there. So Joe Buck did the cover art for me, and it was like me and Dilla. And I wanted it to look like a project, but I wasn't gonna put it out. I only did it for him. So there was only like 2 copies made, one for me and one for him. So when I met him, I hit him with it, and he saw it was all done up and packaged up. And I was like, yo, man, I made this for you, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yo, I don't want you to think I'm trying to disrespect. I'm not selling it. I'm not putting it out. I did it just for you, but I wanted it to look real. And he was blown away. He was like, yo, this is nuts. He was like, yo, take my number. And I was like, okay, word, this your manager or something? He was like, no, this is my number. I was like, what? So now my hand's shaking while I'm typing in my flip phone, right? Because it's '05, on my Sprint flip phone, my hand's shaking. And I'm like, oh, yo, call me, man, call me. I'm gonna check it out, call me. I was like, all right, word up. So I wait like a week, man. I remember I'm sitting in my mother crib on the edge of my bed. All right, man, you gotta call him. And I'm wild nervous. You gotta call him. I call him. Yo, what's up? I was like, yo, what's up, man? It's Skyzoo, we met. He's like, oh, yeah, I know we met. He was like, yo, man, I was listening to your shit on the plane, man. Your shit is dope, man. Your shit is real dope. I was like, word? He's like, yeah, your shit is crazy, man. He was like, yo, man, I want to do some shit for you. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, man, let's do some shit. He was like, yo, I want to send you a batch. But he said, when I send you a batch, I don't want to send you the same batch. I remember he said these names. He said, I don't want to send you the same batch. I sent Erykah Badu or Common, and then they pick something that you fall in love with, and I got to give it to them. He said, I'm going to make you your own batch. I was like, what? I got to go to Kinko's to work tomorrow morning, you know what I mean? Like, he was, I'm going to send you your own batch. He was like, give me a couple weeks, I'm gonna make a batch for you. I was like, oh my God. You got it, bro. You got it. Cool. So I wait like 2 weeks. I call him back. Yo, what up, bro? Blah, blah, blah. Yo, I'm actually in the record store right now digging up samples, man. I'm working. He was like, I got you, yo. Trust me, I'm working. Bet. And then the next time I hit him, he had gave me another number, and it was an LA number. He was like, yo, catch me here. I'm gonna be out here for a while, whatever. And it's because he was getting sick. The LA number was Common's number. It was Common's house. So I'm calling Common's house, leaving a voicemail, not knowing it's Common crib, but it was Common's crib because you found out later he was living with it. It was a house phone because it was like the way the voicemail was set up or whatever. So yeah, it was Common's house number. And I didn't catch him again. He got really sick. You know what I mean? And we all know the story and what happened. So I'm just honored and grateful to have that story. You know what I mean? Like regardless of anything else, I never worked with him. We never did no joint. I never got that batch. But to have that story, there's more than enough.
Do you still have your copy of the CD?
Yeah, it's in my mother's basement. Everything is in the basement. All my rhyme books from high school and college. Everything's in this huge bin, like bigger than this table.
What if I told you that one of my closest friends in the world is Tony Smith, Ma Dukes' husband?
Oh yeah, I know Tony. Yeah.
Why don't we put that out? Why doesn't the National Hip Hop Museum executive produce
the Dilla joints?
Your Dilla album?
I gotta go. First of all, I gotta go and see if I still like what I did, right? Like this is 04 Skyzoo. I might be like, yo, man, but I don't know. That first of all, that's amazing. That's amazing. And thank you for even thinking of that.
Yeah, he lives here.
Yes, he is a DC guy. Last time I was in DC, he was at the show.
Puerto Rico now.
Yeah. Last time I was in DC, he came to the show and all that. Yeah, that's the only.
Isn't that something to think about?
Yeah, I didn't even put two and two together.
Well, think about it. You got a Ninth Wonder album. Mm-hmm. You got a Pete Rock album.
Yeah.
You've worked with Premier.
Let me tell you something.
You have a Dilla album.
Let me tell you something. I would, if I was to do that, I want it to be like 2023 Skyzoo. Put it together. Let's go ballistic. Like that would be insane.
Right, we'll get you the beats and make this happen.
Come on.
You heard it here.
You know, it's a camera rolling. So if you say all this,
I do. Can we, give a nice warm round of applause for the one and only Skyzoo, everybody?
Thank you, y'all. I appreciate it for real.